Right. Good morning, guys. I trust that you're all well. Welcome again to this landmark video. This is just a basic video of how to use VS Code. I know most of you already have experience using VS Code, but I just wanted to do a short video to help those who might still have an issue working around it. So it is going to be very basic. I'll probably just show you what you need to know, especially how to use VS Code. So I'm just gonna share my screen. Okay, so once you have configured or installed the VS Code, this is the screen that you'll be expected to see once you start up VS Code. So this is going to be the first screen that you will see. It has like a get started and welcome, and it basically just gives you some shortcuts on if you want to create a file, open a file folder, repository, and all that. So we'll briefly go through that. Now it will have this menu buttons whereby you are able to make a new file. If on the file function, you're able to make a file window and all that. So these are just basic, just like you would ordinarily do when dealing with a Windows. When you open a document, you can edit, selection, view, run, terminal. We'll look through that. Now, the first thing is this tab right here. Actually, let me just go ahead and close that. This tab right here, it is what is your Explorer. This is synonymous to like a Windows Explorer. It is like if you're on a Windows, it is like this button. If I open that button, it is like your Explorer button. So it basically explores everything that you have. So if I click on it, if I click to open this Explorer, then basically it is opening for us this window whereby we are able to open folders, we are able to clone our repository, we are able to create projects, right? So with that, if I wanted to open a directory or a folder, then what I can do is that I can just open the folder from right here. Once I select the folder to open, I can scroll and say I want to open the Terraform practice. So I can select it. Once you select, now it is going to open that particular project for you. It's gonna open that particular directory that you've opened. Then by default, once it opens that directory for you, it is going to open a terminal, and the terminal, as we will be looking at the terminal, it will open the terminal in the particular directory, the directory that you've opened up here. So this particular terminal, when you run commands here, it is going to be running them against the directory that you've opened here. So in this, once you open that directory, you have these shortcut icons whereby you are able to create a file, or you are able to create a directory. So if you are creating a file inside of this directory, so if I click on that, I can create a file. I can say maybe vpc.auto.tf. So I can create a file like that, and once I create the file and save it right here, then it's going to open up here in my editor. So I can start putting my vpc underscore name maybe equals to my vpc. So I can start making entries in my file right there, because it opened right here. So that is the file. Then with this, if inside this directory, I have another directory inside of the directory that I opened. So if I want this file that I created, I want it to be outside of this directory, then all that I can need to do is just move it, right? And then it's going to ask me, are you sure you want to move into Terraform practice? Yes. So once I do that, now once I click it, now you see this file is outside. So you can just drag the files around and move them wherever you want. If I want this file to be inside of this directory, I can just grab it and move it inside. Then it's gonna ask for confirmation if I want to move. So once I click, now it's moved this file inside of this directory. Okay, so the file is now no longer outside of the directory, right? So you can also create a directory. So like if I have highlighted this right here, fast resource, so I can create a directory. If I create a directory here, I'm creating a directory inside of this fast resource. So I can click on that, and then I can say second resource. Second resource. Once I enter, then it has now created for me a directory. So if I close this, that directory is inside of this fast directory. Now, if I open this directory does not have any file, so I can close it. But if I want to move this file inside this directory, then I can just grab it and move it right then. Then you're gonna be asked, do you want to move it into that second resource? So move, yes. So I can move it in there. So now if I open this second resource, I see that I have my file inside there. Okay, so you can easily create files and folders just by and directories just by using that. Now if I want to save all, you can always click on that, right? And again, if you want to collapse all editors, you want to collapse all folders, you can just click on that. It's now gonna collapse them, right? So if all these were open and you want to close all of them, you can just collapse them, right? And that one you can just refresh the Explorer. So that is pretty basic in terms of just exploring the file. But equally, we saw that when you are on that Explorer, you could when you're on the Explorer right here. So we've seen that we are able to create to open a directory. We are able to create our files and all that, right? So the second thing is we have this search. So this is search. So if I wanted to search for something, to search for a file, let's say I wanted to search for the word main, right? So it is going to search through all the files that are open, all the files that I have within the directories that are open right here. It is going to search for that word main. Now, let's say I wanted to replace this word main. I wanted to replace with say main one, right? So it is going to show me the words, how main is going to be removed, to be replaced with main one. So it's going to show me all the instances where it is. So if I click enter, or if I click on that button, then it's going to replace all globally, right? It is going to replace everything globally. So if I click on that, it is going to replace everything. So if I click on that, are you sure you want to replace that? So if I replace, so globally, it has replaced all the 3 instances of the word main, but I can now revert back. If I say I want to search for the word main one, and I want to replace it with main, right? I want to replace it with main. So with that, I can click on that, then it is going to revert back. So you can use that to search for what, to search through your document. Now, this one, it basically searches globally in all the files. But let's say you just had one file, this main.tf file open, right? Or let's say you had this Terraform. Okay, it's not a very long file. You had this main.tf file open, but now you just wanted to search within this. So what you can type, if you type like Control F, it is going to open that find. You want to search through a file, it is going to open that find dialog box right here. So from here, I want to search for my VPC. I'm assuming if this is a long file, so it is going to highlight where that my VPC has occurrence of my VPC. Now, if I wanted to replace it, if we click on that, it is going to open here, replace right here. So if I wanted to replace my VPC with another underscore VPC, right? So with that, if you click on this, if you had like multiple occurrences, then it will be replacing it one line, one by one. But if I click on that, it is going to replace all occurrences. But right now in this file, I only have one occurrence. So if I click on that, it is going to replace for me that. But now, remember that now here, it is only, I'm only working on the one file that is open. So this is not global. So I'm only affecting one file. But if I wanted to do it globally to affect all the files, then I'll basically use this. Then we have the other thing that you need to know is we have this extension here is your Git. So if you have installed Git, you have Git configured, you'll have this extension. Now, what this extension enables you to do is to do everything we do like on a command line. So for example, if you wanted to initialize a Git repository, you will always do Git init on the command line. But with this enables you to do everything you do on the command line or everything you do on the console when you're running Git commands. So with this, if I go on that Git and I click here, you're able to check out the different branches. But if I click on this button, right, then you're able to do a pull, to do a push, you're able to clone a repository, you're able to check out, you're able to commit, to change, pull, like all these, you're able to basically do that. So let's say I wanted to create a repository, or I wanted to create a branch, right? If I wanted to create a branch, I can come to branch, then based on where I am, right now to just get based on where I am, I can do branch. I can create a branch. So what is the branch name? I can say my branch name, I can say it is testing 101. So once I enter, right? Once I enter, too many changes that it took to us. Okay, so these are different. Okay. Once do an entry, then I can check out. I can check out. Once I do, once you do check out, you can either create a branch or create a new branch from, or check out detached. Okay, let's see what is happening. So I can check out the new branch from branch name. Head. Such a value not already exists. Okay. Okay, I have too many changes very clear. I can create a branch, create a new branch. Branch name, I can say Justin 2. I can just create that branch. Once I create that branch, all right, so we have this get functionality. I think I have too many commits on the user. It's not allowing me to do that, but basically, once you click on that, you can create a new branch. You can create a branch, or if you click on that, you can publish. You can publish. Right now, once you select Git, you're on Git, you can publish a repository. Basically, publishing means you're creating it in GitHub, and you can equally do it. Yeah. So you can clone a repository, you can check out to a branch. Once you create, you can commit. Committing means you can write a commit message, right? You can commit to stage, you can commit all and do last commit. So basically all the functionality of GitHub, all the Git commands, instead of running it on the terminal, you can actually do it here. You can look at changes, you can stage all changes and stage discard changes. You can push and pull. So you can do all that from here. Then the branches, you can merge branches, you can rebase, you can create, rename, all that. So all the functionality of Git, when you can do add remote, once you create a repo, then you can add the repo or you can remove the repo. You can stash and you can tag, right? You can show Git output. So this particular icon here, it gives you all the entire Git functionality, right? Functionality. Now, the other thing that you need to look at is this extension. This is your extension tab. Now, when you click on the extension tab, when you install VS Code, it basically doesn't come fully loaded with all the functionality, but you have to configure it. Now, configuring it means you have to find like the extension that you are interested in. Let's say if you want to run, when you're developing, you want to run Terraform, right? You want to run Terraform on your environment, and then what you need now to find an extension. So once you open that extension down below, and you can search for an extension. Now these are filter. You can filter your extension, filter by the most popular, recent published or recommended. Then categories, you can filter by the categories of filters of extension that you want, built-in or install. Like right now, these are the ones that are installed, disable, outdated, workspace supported, or you can sort them, right? So if you want to run like Terraform, you can look for HashiCorp. You can just type in HashiCorp, and you will see that you can have that HashiCorp Terraform extension. So you will need, it's already installed, but you will just need to click on on install. If you want to use the HashiCorp Vault, then again, you will need to get the HashiCorp Vault extension. So you can just click on this and install, right? So we can also equally look for, because we do Kubernetes, so you can just type in Kubernetes, and you will see that we have that first one that comes up, the most popular one, Kubernetes. So once you click on it, it is already installed. And once you click on it, you will see it here. And now for Kubernetes, because I already have it installed, as I will show you, I can see it basically displayed because this is one of my main extension that I use when running Kubernetes, right? Then I actually have Docker. So you can either do a Docker extension, or I have a Docker desktop installed. So you can do a Docker extension part whereby you are installing everything Docker, right? So when you run the Docker commands, when you do the Docker build, basically everything will be happening on your VS Code. And obviously you would have signed up into your Docker Hub so that it's pushing everything to your Docker Hub. So this is where you find your extensions. So just click on that and search for the extension that you want. You can search for extension like Ansible. There's an Ansible support language, and basically this is YAML. When we are writing that, it's basically YAML, whereby it is just supporting the language syntax highlighting or formatting. So you can install that. Now, when you have installed, the beauty of installing these extensions, as you will see, if I create a file like a Terraform file, if I have installed an extension, once I create a file with a .tf extension, then what will happen is it will automatically sense that this is a Terraform file, and it's going to give me this particular icon. Then if I open the resource, now with the extension installed, if I want to write my Terraform code, let's say I want to create a resource. So once you type resource, because of the extension, it is going to automatically sense. And once it senses, it is going to give you like suggestion. You're trying to create a resource. So with that, I can just click enter because I want to create a resource block. So once I click enter, then it has already formatted for me. Now, what resource? It's reading my provider is AWS already. So what resource do I want to create in AWS? Maybe I want to create, let's say, it gives me this whole list. I want to create, so I can just scroll through. I want to create, let's say, an instance. So you can scroll through everything. So this is the same thing as if you went onto the documentation, and if you went onto the documentation and you are searching through for the exact resource that you want. So I can say instance, maybe passage. I want to create an instance. So the resource is an AWS instance. Then the name, as we say, this is optional. So I can give this as my instance. So my underscore instance of my EC2, So once I do that, then you go inside of this body, then click control space. You hold control space bar. So once you hold control space bar, it gives you now suggestion on what. So as you scroll through like AMI, it is showing you that this is required. So it will show you what is required inside of this block, what you must put inside of the block, and what are the optional. So as you scroll through, you say AMI, this is required. So you just click enter, right? Then it gives you, and also it gives you the type, right? Like AMI, it says it's a string. So you put it in curly brackets. You can put your AMI, the AMI value, right? And then enter, and then click control space. And then you can search for any other thing that is required. All these others are optional. Availability zone is optional, right? All these are optional, but now you can look for something that is required to create an instance. So you can scroll through. So here you are now customizing. We know that when I'm creating an EC2 instance, one of the required parameters is I need to have an AMI. But the other thing is I need to have the instant type. But now you see all the other things is showing that they are optional. But instant type, right here, it is showing you that this is required. So instant type, I can click on enter, and instant type, it is required and it's a string. So I can say it's a T2 maybe dot micro, right? T2.micro. So if I enter and then click control space, let me see if I go to, you can pass your key, you can pass your subnet ID. All these are optional requirements, right, for your instance. So if I go to lifecycle, that will be a block. If I wanted to pass a key in, monitoring, provisioner, provider, all these are blocks. Right? User data. If I wanted to pass the user data, it is optional. So you can click enter, user data. Then from that user data, so you can pass your data. You can pass your data right there. Now, once you click on control space on the side, it will actually give you an explanation of what it is. So for example, if I wanted to see the AMI of the instance, and I click control space, it is going to tell me this is required for using AMI instance. So this is basically how we use this extension. So now let's say I want to create a file. I'll say a manifest file. I will say this is a mongo.yaml. Once I type the YAML file, you see it senses, and now that is a YAML file. That is an extension. So it is going to create that. Now for a YAML file, if I'm writing a Kubernetes file, we know that we need the kind, we need the API version, we need the metadata, we need the spec. So if I start like API version, then it is going to highlight for me. So I can select API version, right? API version, and I can put API version maybe V1, right? Then if I type kind, okay, if I type kind, okay, See, if you just start typing, it is going to give you like suggestion like what you're typing. But if I type kind and I type pod, right? I type pod. I want a pod. Then with that, it is giving me, producing for me like a manifest, like an example of a manifest. So if it's a Kubernetes pod, once I select it, it auto-completes it for me. So now I'm using my extension. I know that for a pod, right? The API version is V1, right? The API version is V1. Then therefore I can use this now just to change the names, the metadata, to change my container, but the resources and all the like environmental variables, the container port volume. So it gives you a template. It just gives you a template of now how you can quickly write your manifest file. So that is the beauty of using all these extensions. Now, with that also said, because I have a Kubernetes extension installed, so if I click on that Kubernetes extension, I can configure my clusters. Like now, right now, I have the Docker desktop, Docker desktop that is running. That is like a single node. It has a Kubernetes cluster, which is the Docker desktop. So it is running on my Windows desktop. But because now I have it with that extension, so once you've installed the Docker desktop, right, and you've started Kubernetes, so I can configure and I can see it. I can see the clusters that I have here. I have another cluster in DigitalOcean. So once you click on it, you can see. Once you click on that particular cluster, it's temporarily going to start. But basically, once you click on it, it is going to bring you to, like right now at the bottom, it is telling you the user, right? The user, if I click on it, if I click on that particular, I was running it in the Docker deck in this particular context. I have another class in AWS, which is a Kubernetes admin, right? That is a context. So this arrow means the cluster that you're using or the cluster that is running. But if I want now to switch to my Docker desktop, so if right here, if I click on this, then pick the context you want to switch to. So I can switch to Docker desktop. Once I switch to Docker desktop, now right here, it switches to Docker desktop. And you can, once you open the Docker desktop, I can see all the namespaces. I can see the nodes. I can see the workload. I can see the storage. So you can see everything from here. If you want to see the namespaces, it is going to search through that, and you can basically see everything from here. If I switch to, I want to switch to the DigitalOcean, I can click on Docker desktop right there and pick the context you want to switch. You want to switch to this DigitalOcean. Then it's going to switch now to the class that is running in DigitalOcean. If I open it, I can see the namespaces. I can see the namespaces. I have the EFK, I have the default, I have all these namespaces. I have the nodes. I have these two nodes running. I have the workload. It's now going to show you if you have any deployments, if you have any stateful sets, any daemon sets that are running, right? So you can basically explore all your clusters once you've installed that extension right here. So that is the same thing with Docker. Now, if you have Docker installed, like right now, I need to restart it. I need to restart Docker, but basically it will show you your Docker Hub. Once you restart it and you've signed it in Docker Hub, so it will show you like all the images that you have, it will show you the registry. the registries Docker. It will show you now all the images. And if you have any containers that are running, you'll be able to basically see them there. So that is a cool extension to have, like Terraform and Kubernetes, YAML, and all that. Then one other thing that I wanted to show you guys when using this, at least for functionality, we do a lot of we have our infrastructure in AWS, so we do a lot of like our servers mostly are in AWS. So you can configure your VS Code so that you can do a remote what they call remote development. Remote development means if I have a server in AWS, then I want to, maybe it's my Ansible server that is in AWS, or my Terraform server is in AWS, but I don't want to use like MobileXterm or Git Bash to log into that server and do it and start running my commands from there. So I can configure my VS Code so that I do what we call remote development, whereby now I can make this and see all my files, see all my directories, see all my users in the server that is in AWS. Now with that, you have to download or rather to go to the extension, and you'll be looking for remote SSH, right? Remote SSH. So you will need to install this remote SSH remote SSH extension. So once you've installed that remote SSH, then you will need, once it's installed, you will need to click here. Like right now, it is showing this is my local, right? So this is, it shows you what window or what you're working with. Like right now, this is my local Windows desktop that I'm working with. So once you click on it, you will need to configure it, right? So once you click on it, you have this remote SSH that in extension that we install. I'll tell you guys about WSL, but this remote. Now with that, you first need to configure, right? You need to configure your SSH configuration. So you need to open SSH configuration file under the remote SSH. So open that configuration file, and this configuration file open within your users, like how you logged into Windows, right? Windows under users. So open this config file, okay? So click on open that config file, and then it's going to open for you a template of a config file, which is like this. So all these is already pre-configured. Then all that you need to do is you need to put in your host. The host is just like an alias, the name of your server in AWS, right? Name of your server in AWS. So for example, I can, let me just bring up my AWS management console. Okay, just bring it up. All right. If I look on this, I have let's say this Tomcat, or let's say this Jenkins server, right? Let me just start this instance so that I get its IP. So I can start my Jenkins server. My Jenkins server should be initializing. Oh, it's pending right now. That's shortly it's going to start running. It's pending. It already, it has this public IP, so it's already running. So I can copy that. I can copy that public IP. Right? Once I copy that public IP, then that Jenkins server, it is a Red Hat. Right? It is a Red Hat. So the user is EC2, right? The user is EC2. So I can now go to my config file, right? And let's say I want to, in my config file, so I can say this is my Jenkins. I can just say an alias. I'm just saying it's Jenkins 1 or Jenkins 1, right? Then my host name, I'm gonna put the IP address. The IP address of my Jenkins server. Then who is the user? The user is EC2-user, right? Then your identity file, this is the key that you use to log into your server. So my key, remember this is this is in my Windows environment. So my key is in my downloads, the home in my downloads, but that is the key name, right? So now with this, I'm creating an SSH connection between my Jenkins, and I'm using EC2-user at that particular IP, and I'm using this particular key. So now with this, because it's auto-saved, right? Then with that, so now what I can do is I can click on this particular, I can just close that config file, and I can click on this, right? Then in your remote, you can go to connect to host. Once you connect to host, it's going to populate the host inside of your config file. So which host do I want to communicate with? I want to communicate with this Jenkins 1. So once you click on Jenkins 1, it is going to open a new window. Then it's asking you, select the platform of the remote host. Is it a Windows? Is it Mac? It's a Linux. So once you click on Linux, then it wants you to authenticate. This is technically when we SSH into a server, it will give you, are you sure you want to continue? Yes, continue. So once you continue, then now it is making an SSH connection with that particular server. And I can maximize this. Now, right here, it has SSH into Jenkins 1, right? It is showing me that I'm now connected into that Jenkins 1. So inside that Jenkins 1, you are able to explore, you are able to open files, you're able to clone a repository, right? But now I can go to my terminal. And again, now how to access our terminal, you can either do new terminal, but the easiest way to access your terminal is to just grab it from the bottom here and move it up, right? You always just put your cursor and grab it. So your terminal is here. And with that terminal, I'm now connected inside my server, my EC2. So if I do pwd, that's where I am. Now, if I touch, let's say I make directory test inside of that Jenkins user, then I can basically see if I ls, I have that test. And now with that, because I'm here, I'm equally able to see my directories from here. Now, how do I do that? I need now to to open, I can open first, there are two ways. I can open my editor in this particular directory, right? So I can open my editor in this directory. So I can do something like code dot. So I want to open my editor from this location, from that particular directory. It can open for me another window, right? It can open for me another window. And basically now it's saying, do you want to trust the authors? Yes, trust. Then, so right now it is showing me the folders, the directories that are inside of this EC2 user, right? And for the EC2 user, I have this test directory that I just created. If I can look at my terminal, I'm inside that. So inside this directory, I can create a file. I can create a file and say main.tf file, right? Once you enter, it's now open right here. I can say resource. I can create a null resource with a provisioner. Then now with that, because everything is auto-saved, if I'm on my terminal, if I ls, I have that. If I cd into test, right, test, and I ls, right, I'll see my main.tf. So I can run everything. I can run everything from here. I can I can write my files up here as they are saved. Then I can use my terminal. I can use my terminal to do it, to run my command right here. So I'm remotely doing this. If this was my Ansible server, then all that I need to do is that I need to clone a repository, or I need to have all my Ansible playbooks inside a directory here, so I can edit the playbook. I can create playbooks and at the same time run them here. But I'm doing it remotely because I've connected into my server. Okay, so you can just do it remotely from here. So you can create files, you can create directories, templates, and be able to see them. Now this is the home of the EC2 user. Now let's see if we go to, because it's a Jenkins server. If I cd and I cd into var, let me cd into home, right? Cd into var, or let me sudo su first to Jenkins. Sudo su Jenkins. Maybe that's easier. Sudo su Jenkins. Now I'm in Jenkins. So if I do pwd, I'm in a var lib Jenkins. So if I open my code from here, okay, that it is not, the directory is not, code is not found inside of the Jenkins. But if I exit and I cd into var lib Jenkins, ls, right? By ls, I'll see all this. I'll see all these files. So let me see if I open code from here. Right? If I open the editor, my code from there. So when I cd into the var lib Jenkins, so I can cd into the home of Jenkins, and therefore I can open my editor from here. I'm in the Jenkins home. So with this, I can see all the plugins that have been, all the users, workflow. I can see all my workspaces, These are the files that I have in Jenkins. I have a mapping job, I have DSL, staging job, I have prod, I have the seed job. You can open it, you have all this, so you can now see your jobs. I have this test prod job, you can see all your jobs from here. I can see my Jenkins file. You can see all this, you can see this Jenkins file right here, your pipeline file right here. So all this, you are in real time looking into the Jenkins remotely, right? You're looking remotely. So everything with your credentials, your SML, your login. So you're basically seeing everything. So you can move around. You can move around the directories. You can look at users. I have this user configured for my Jenkins. You can look at your secrets plugin, all this just by now configuring VS Code so that you're doing a remote development. Okay, so this just becomes as your local environment, right? So imagine if this was your bastion host. If this is your bastion host, this is technically how you would configure it. You do a remote development on it, remote SSH, and if this is now my bastion host, so I can create playbooks, I can create manifest files, and from here, because I can create them right inside my bastion host, then I can just SCP or I can SSH into different other servers that I'm managing and transferring those particular files or scripts, right? So you can manage your bastion host like this remotely just on your VS Code. So the remote SSH extension is a good one for you to have. And then apart from that remote SSH, so to log out, you just click on that, and then you can either connect to host. Then if you want to connect the current window to a host, so that like what I did before, it was opening a new window, but once we SSH in, you can connect, instead of it opening a new window, you can connect it to the current, right? Then if you want to see the logs, you can equally generate logs and see the logs of your server right from there. So you can do that, and then you can just close. If you want to exit, you can just close remote connection, so it will exit out. It will disconnect you from that. Then equally, if you have like Docker, you're running containers remotely, you can connect, you can open containers, you can reopen in containers. So you can go through all these configuration for you to see like how to play around with them. So that is about the configuration. So just remember, open the configuration and create your configuration file, right? If you have different hosts with the users, and remember, because this is your remote, this is your local, and you're connecting to a remote, so you will use a public IP. Now the downside is the public IPs, they will always change. So if you want, but technically in a production or work environment, like if this was your bastion host, it will keep running. You will keep running it. So once you configure your IP address, it will basically stay on, and you can always just SSH into that. Now, once you're in there, you can do everything you do in your local environment. You can clone repositories. You can create repos and clone and do all that, right? So I can exit out. I can close that remote, right? It is now going to bring me back to my local, right? Now, the other thing, that that you need to maybe to be aware of, it is the WSL. So if you do WSL, because VS Code is a Windows product, is maintained by Microsoft. So they all equally have this WSL Windows subsystem of Linux that is pretty good. So if you want to run your Linux commands like on your Windows, then it offers what we call it Windows subsystem of Linux, whereby you can create a Linux subsystem on your Windows. Now, if you go to the Microsoft, store, if you just type in Microsoft Store, it's opening different. If I go to Microsoft Store, you can search for, let's say, Ubuntu. You can search for Ubuntu, let's say Ubuntu 20, right? And you can basically buy this. Oh, I think most of them are free. So I think some of them are free. So you can buy that. I have this already installed. I have this installed on my Windows. So what you need to do is, once you go into Microsoft Store, right? Microsoft Store, search for Ubuntu or CentOS. These are like Linux subsystems, but they are managed by Windows. So now with that, I have this Ubuntu that is running on my Windows desktop. Now with this, because it's compatible with the VS Code, because they are all Microsoft product. So now I've configured this Ubuntu. Once you install it, then now I can run VS Code from WSL. So if I'm right here, I can type code, right? And I want to open the code in this directory, in the present directory. So once you enter, you do an entry, it is going to open for you VS Code, right? Once it opens your VS Code. Now it is running it in a Linux subsystem in Ubuntu, right? It is running it in WSL. So for this WSL, because it's local to my system, right? I am able to run Linux commands locally. I'm able to do everything Linux because I'm using the WSL, as opposed to if I did the remote SSH, then my server at AWS will always have to be running, okay, for me to be able to do the development here, which might add up to the cost because your servers will always be running. But if I use WSL, or Windows subsystem on Linux, this is local. I've configured it local, and I'm able to run all my Linux commands right here. So now, for example, in this, I was able to install Ansible, right? Because it's Ubuntu, I installed Ansible. Now, I've installed this Ansible on my local environment, right? I've installed this Ansible on Ubuntu, which is on my local environment, right? So I can run my Ansible commands from my local environment, because I configured Ansible on this Ubuntu, and I'm able to create all my Ansible YAML files and be able to create the YAML files. I'm able to run Terraform locally on this, right? And then now with that, it makes it easier. It makes it easier for me when I'm doing. It makes it easier for me when I'm doing like testing out, doing projects, and I don't want to be running costs in AWS to have my servers in AWS like running all the time, especially when I'm just testing and doing that. But also I don't want to have my Ansible server or my control node to be on AWS, or my control node to be in the cloud, whereby I will either have to keep it on so that the IP address, I don't have to keep on changing the IP address of my host, right? In terms of I need to SSH into it, maybe if I shut it down, I need to always to find the IP address. But now I can just configure everything on my WSL and now run using dynamic inventory, configured all that using dynamic inventory. It is just going to find my servers, the servers that are live. I can just do that. So that's how I've configured my environment. But this is technically, I know a lot of companies, a lot of people that use WSL in their environment, because now it gives you the flexibility of running it from your Windows. So this is something that you also can look into. So if you click on that first section, it is the remote WSL. If you have your WSL extension configured, but you can also equally download, go to the Microsoft Store and download, because you need to install that subsystem of Linux that you want, right? Now from that, you can equally do check logs. You can reopen folders in WS, reopen folder in Windows, and new Windows using distro, right? So you can play around with all this and basically just find out like how it works. But so far it has been working great for me, because I can run everything from here. Now the final thing, apart from WSL, that I wanted to show you guys is what we call live share. So like most of you, when you're writing code or you're doing this, you need help. You want help from a friend. You want help for somebody to look at your code and all this. So VS Code, it provides that functionality whereby you are able to collaborate with a friend. You're able to collaborate with a team. You're able to write the code together. So what you need to do is you need to search for the live share extension. Once you install the live share extension, right, it basically enables you to collaborate, edit, and debug with others in real time. So once you install it, then you will see this particular icon will be created for you. So once you click on that, you can start a collaborative editing or debugging with somebody. So you can share, right? You can share. Once you click on share, right, it is going to start a session, right? And once it starts a session, it prints an invitation link, right? An invitation link. So what you can do is that you can, let me just say, I want to copy that link. Then with that link, I can go and send it to somebody. Let's say I want you to help me. I want you to help me collaborating, right? So I can send it to, just opening my Telegram. I can send it to somebody. Let me say, I can go to Telegram and just send it to somebody, right? I can send it to somebody. Once I send it to somebody, what the person will need to do is just click on it. Once they click on it, it is going to open this in the browser, right? Then once, okay, let me do this. Let me do this. Okay, let me close this. Close this. Let me close this. This too. So this is the person that I invited. This is the person that I invited, and this is me. This is the person who received the invite. So this person will need to sign it. So I can say just continue as anonymous. So I can say this is Mark, right? Mark. Once you press enter, right, it starts joining the session, and here it notifies me Mark requested to join your collaboration. How do I want them to join? Only read only or read and write? I can say I want them to join in read and write. Once I click on that, then Mark, they are going to see that live share, right? Now I can open my folder. Let's say Marvin test. Okay, I think I'll need to start it again. I think I'll need to restart it again. So it lost the connection because I exited out. Right, so I'll do a live share. I will share. I'll just copy it again. I'll copy it again. Copy it again. Then I'll go on to my then the person will have to open it. The person opens it, minimize it. Then let's continue the minimize, mark, enter. Yeah, read, live share. So you see they're open, right? So they're now seeing my screen. They can either do it like that on the browser, or you can equally open it in VS Code, in your VS Code. But basically, because I've given them the read and write access, so once I open my Marvin test, once I open that source, let's say Jenkins file, so they are able to see exactly what I'm seeing, right? Once I open that second file, they're able to see what I'm seeing. Now, if I opened, or if I created, let's say I want to create another file like test.yaml, right? They should be able to see that I created a test.yaml right here. Now with that, I can do API version. Once I do that, they can see that and they can see what I'm doing. But because they also have the read-write access, they can contribute. They can say kinds is a code, right? Basically, I can walk through with a friend. We can write the code together. So if you guys are troubleshooting, or basically you're just doing coding and you want help. So now you can utilize this live share feature whereby you can basically collaborate, right? Let's say in your teams, if you're doing projects together, so you can just collaborate and do it. Somebody else is seeing what you're doing and they're able to make comments. I think in the past we've been doing like Zoom, whereby now you give somebody else the rights to take over your screen to do it. You can easily do it in this. So you can create a Zoom and basically I don't know even why you need the Zoom, but you can basically communicate through that. And also in the live share, you have a chat session. So I can open a chat session and I can just say, hey, Mark, hey, so once I enter, so this person here too will need to have their chat session open, and we can chat as we work on our code, right? And live we can chat, we can walk through. I can copy stuff and paste it to you, or I can just modify, because I'm writing the code equally. I can just modify as you do. So based on the rights that I've given you, then with that we can also just run our code once you've written it, right? Once you've written it, you can just open your terminal. Once I open my terminal, it opens it here. Then whatever I run on this side, they can equally just see what I'm doing. Okay, so this is basically this will give you guys just the basic idea of how you can work around VS Code. It will give you the basic functionality, and with this you should be able to get around with all you need to do, especially in your work environment. There is so much more that you can do. Okay, another thing before I finish is, now working with files, as we said, you can once your files are open, you can basically split screens, or split so that you have different views like this. I can move this file and basically if I move it now, I just have one screen. But let's say I have this screen like this. Now if I can right click on it and I can split it up or split it down, right? So I can have my view like this, right? Up and down, right? Or if I split it again, I can have multiple files like side by side like that. And with that, I can also toggle them up, I can toggle them by moving and resizing them like that. So that's how you can utilize the split. You can have multiple files open side by side or bottom up, right? And the same thing with the terminal. With the terminal, here I have one terminal. Now, if I need two terminals, I can just split it, and I can have two terminals running side by side. So let's say maybe I want to do a watch kubectl get pods here, and I want to run my commands here, then see what is happening here on my terminal. So I can equally do that, right? I can equally do that. Now, right now, if I click on that, I basically kill the first terminal. If I want to add a different terminal, you can click add. Once you add, it is going to add a second terminal, and it will show you here. That's my first terminal. Now I just added a second terminal to it. But if I also want to change, like maybe I want to have a PowerShell terminal. So you can click that down arrow. Right now, by default, it always comes in PowerShell, but you can use Gatebash, which has basically it's more colorful and more functionality in it, right? So you can open all those terminals, then I can just kill if I don't want those terminals. Then so we can split it, then I can move it up to maximize it. I can move it down. Then to close this terminal, if I don't want, just get rid of it down. If I want to bring it up, then just move it up like that. But you can equally go to terminal and open new terminal from here. Okay, so basically that is it for now. I hope you guys will find this helpful as you continue in your development. All right, have a great day. God bless. Okay.